Well, everyone, welcome to the spoiler room, and we are very honored, I will say honored, to have someone today whose work I've admired quite a bit over the years. We recently talked about her movie Red, Werewolf Hunter, on our podcast. You know her name. If you don't know her name, shame on you. Writer, producer, singer, streamer. I mean, she's done it all, and she's still doing it all. Felicia Day is with us. Felicia, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. When I heard you were covering Red, I was kind of excited to speak to you because I don't think anyone's ever interviewed me about that. And certainly not in a long time. So happy to chat about it.
Yeah, well, I've always found charm in the film. I mean, you know, I saw online mixed, reactions or whatnot, but I was really curious about some of the things with it. Namely, how did you get involved with Red Werewolf Hunter? Were you approached? Did you audition for it? How did you get started in it?
I was actually offered the part. It was
Mm,
I don't even remember what year we made it, but I think it was after The Guild was kind of really popular, and
mhm,
Angela Mancuso, I believe,
mhm,
was the producer, and she was producing like four or five of these movies that were kind of like fairy tale twists. And of course,
mhm.
I thought that was really cool. They were low budget, but hey, I like low budget better than high budget. And I read the script and I actually really liked it, it was cool. It was kind of a nice twist. And I there were some really cool aspects to the script. I was like, sure, I'll do it. And so then I flew to Toronto and we shot it, and that was a whole interesting deal.
Oh, interesting. Shooting in Toronto, or was it just
Well, I'm not a very cold weather person. I grew up in the South
mm,
and
mhm,
and Texas and California, so I never
sure.
really was any place cold. And it wasn't. I think it was like February or March we shot,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
it wasn't snowing.
Mhm.
Thank goodness, because I'd never really seen snow in person a lot, but it was so cold. So whenever you see me do any like moving at all, I have like three pairs of pantyhose under the jeans. And I'm like, I'm not kidding. I was walking like I was in a sausage binding, like, but it was so cold all the time. I've never experienced that kind of cold. And especially doing stunts and action and night work. Oh, it was pretty challenging.
I can imagine. I'm in Wisconsin, so cold for me
Okay.
is,
Yeah. You know all about this
I
kind of piercing cold. I do not.
I've definitely seen cold. But yeah, speaking of the stunts, I love the action in here. Did you do all your own stunts or most of your own stunts? Because I know filmmakers that get nervous about their main actor doing their own stunts.
I did a fair number of them. I know that, I
Mhm,
mean, you always have a stunt double, always, there's always
mhm,
somebody there. And any of the, anything where you're falling or like they're using real weapons or they're
mhm,
behind you, generally that's a stunt double. But, again, this was a really low budget film. And I remember doing a lot of my stunts, it was off of Buffy, and I had
mhm.
done a lot of stunts before. I have a lot of dance training and I really enjoy just like throwing my body around. Not so much
Sure.
now,
Sure. Yeah.
but hey, I'll do it. I couldn't really high kick because of all the pantyhose, but
Oh, sure.
um, yeah, it was very stunt heavy, which I really enjoyed a lot of that. And yeah, I think I did most of them.
Yeah, well, it looked like it. So I was very impressed, especially, you're going through tables and stuff, and I'm just like the camera's up close. I'm like, oh, that's actually Felicia on that.
Yeah, yeah. Anything dangerous, especially if there's glass or
Oh
like
yeah.
things breaking, I mean, if you pause it, I'm sure you could see us doing the hard work because they don't want your face to get messed up. I mean, it would
Oh,
literally shut the production down. So there's
sure.
reasons for it.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that of someone doing their own stunt. They break their ankle or sprain it, and suddenly 2.5 weeks you're in delay.
Yeah, yeah, it's not good. It's a liability issue and just a
Mhm.
production issue. So, but yeah, no. And it was, again, it was super low budget. So I'm sure there's a lot of janky things there, but I think there's charm to it. It was kind of before sci-fi
Mhm.
turned to doing Sharknado and all these sort of trashier, no insult.
Mhm.
I like those movies too, but they were really trying to make a film, a
Right.
legitimate film, not like a tongue-in-cheek film.
Mhm.
And that's what I appreciate about it. Although it did change a lot from the script that I read to what we actually got on film.
Was that mostly probably due to budget or constraints of time or?
You know, there were some creative issues.
Mhm.
The director, I think, didn't like some components of the script, but he
Mhm.
didn't really have solutions. I think he was under a lot of pressure as well. And so I remember one scene we were around a table and he didn't like my backstory for some reason. But then I was like, okay, so what am I? And he didn't have a solution. And like the
Yeah.
Kevin, who I worked with in Eureka right after that, we were like, well, what do we say? Like, and I remember there were a couple of scenes I really was upset that got cut from
Mhm.
the script. I think Brooks Dunham, I'm not
Mhm.
sure, was a writer, and there were a couple of really great scenes that really developed my character and the relationship between me and my partner that I was really upset to see go. I really fought for them, but there was just no time to do them, and they were
Yeah.
actually, I think, the emotional core of the movie. And yeah, I mean, I think there was a better movie on the page, but again, low budget
Mhm.
constraints. Everybody's doing their very best, and
Yeah.
that's what it is. That's what you sign up for, right?
No, I've been covering micro budget, low budget indie films for about 11 years now. So I've heard the stories of, well, what we wanted to do and what we actually got to do. Uh,
Yeah.
Especially with sci-fi, because with Asylum, I've heard that they give them a time frame that they have to meet regardless. And so you
Oh
kind of
yeah.
gotta just cram it in there and do what you can because they want to meet that specific deadline.
Yeah, I mean, and also like I've done many. I mean, listen, I've never done a big film where they had sushi and you had meat stew. I've never done it, so I don't really understand like any other way to make film. But there is sort of like, you know, there is a fun to it in that you're just trying to make the best thing possible, and everybody's scrambling all the time, and you get two or three takes at the most, and you're just like, the adrenaline of it is kind of fun in that
Sure.
you're just trying to do the best under the pressure, and like you got to move on no matter what. I did such a low budget film once that we got one. He shot the rehearsal and then you move on, and it was a monologue I had about being assaulted. And I was like, wait, what? We're moving on? I gotta go. And I was like, I mean, there's footage missing in that movie because they literally didn't have any money. It's a Western I did. So at least this, has connective tissue.
It does have connective tissue. It's got a very great spirit. That's what I like it. It's got a charm, reminded me of old school monster films.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah. And there's some great actors in there. The woman who played my mother was just an incredible actor.
Rosemary
So, and then the
Dunsmore.
guy who played yes, she was incredible. Just I learned so much from her. And there was a guy also who played the bad guy who was very eccentric actor,
Oh,
very Stephen something. And
McCaddy.
he's just, yes, McCat. He had a process, man. And I was like, that is really interesting. I mean,
He kind of
he had
seemed
the hat on.
he kind of seemed like that actor because I'm a big horror fan and he was in
Oh, he's a
I
legend.
yeah, he's been in so much. He was in was it Polypore, I
Mhm.
think it was called or whatever, where he's a DJ during a zombie attack. And I've always enjoyed him, but he seems like the type that would be a bit eccentric and probably
Yeah,
have
eccentric and method. I mean, like
method.
what not? And he wore that hat. And I remember there were like a lot of discussions. And actually it was good because I was very pretty green and I didn't
Mm,
understand that. Yeah, sometimes you don't have to do exactly what they want you to do because it's not what your character would do or what
sure.
you want to do as an artist. And it's really hard, especially on those low budget. You're just like, let's get the shot and move. And, at the end of the day, you do have to fight for yourself because the audience is watching you. They don't really care
Right.
about the shots as much. They want the performance. And so that's why it's really good for young actors to work with older actors like that because you kind of don't get pushed along by the machine a lot. So yeah, I mean, again, I learned a lot on that shoot.
Yeah, it looks like you're having fun. I mean, everything you do, in all honesty, you seem to be just having a blast and you're having fun in this. You get to wear this really kick-ass outfit. You get to play, shoot with real weapons in it. Did you already have some training with gun? Because you get to use guns, and I know you use other weapons as well, but did you have training before you worked on the shoot with that?
A little bit. I'm from Texas, so
Oh,
I
okay.
shot some guns, which are very scarily easy to use, you know? Yeah, it was I mean, always you trust the prop guy and
Mhm.
the armorer to help you look legitimate, you know, because you
Sure.
don't want to look. It's the same thing with actors who don't fill their coffee cups up, you know, it's just like just do 10 minutes of work and it really pays off. So yeah, it was a lot of help there. With a lot of people. Again, it takes a village, especially if you're just jumping into something.
Well, and especially when you're talking smaller budget films, you
Mhm.
don't have a huge amount of room for someone going, I'm only going to do this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, you don't. You're like,
well,
you need to get it and move on.
well, and you producing, I mean, you've produced so much and done so much, but you producing and doing the guild and that you kind of have that same indie spirit because you were doing it on your own. It felt like, you're making
Yeah.
stuff on your own in that. So you don't have a huge amount of room of someone just staying into one lane, do you?
No, no, unfortunately I can't keep a lane. I'm right now on location acting and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done acting. I need to go home and write something. And then of course I'll get bored with that and I'll be like, why am I not hosting something? And then I'll be like, I'm missing my stream, you know, video game streams. So I kind of I've been frustrated with myself, and I'm sure the whole industry has been frustrated with me for many years because people see potential in someone and they want them to kind of pick a lane and probably become more rich and famous. But
Sure.
uh, I kind of gotta, you know, do my thing.
I could totally understand that because it's one of those things I've been doing this. I don't realize how long I've been doing it till I stop and think about it. But I do a little podcasting, I do a little streaming, I do interviews, I do movie reviews and that. But I can't stay to one lane either. And if I probably did, I'd probably be just a little bit more higher up on the food chain or what. But I
Popularity,
yeah,
yeah,
but
you
I
gotta
can't.
do. You're
Cre
never gonna regret like not doing what you wanted to do, but you're gonna
Mhm.
regret doing something for the wrong reasons when you spent the
Right.
time not doing the thing you wanted to do, right? So that's my rationale. And
Mhm.
you know, again, like I feel like after I had a kid, I kind of reached for contentment a little bit more. Discontentment is the fuel of Hollywood. So
Yeah. Well, that changes everything. I have two boys. They're both in their 20s. But yeah, that having kids changed everything
yeah,
quite a bit. Gives you perspective and it's great seeing the world through their eyes,
yeah,
though.
absolutely.
Because everything's new and seeing them discover things on their own. They've become big gamers on their own.
That's great.
I didn't influence them that day. They just did that on their own.
Yeah,
Uh, and they still want to hang with their old man. So I must have did
yeah.
something right.
No, it's true. I mean, that's all my goal is that, hey, do you want to just spend time with me? Now I'm seeing that that was 2010 that I did that movie.
Hmm.
So basically, that was before I tried to do Dragon Age. I did a miniseries called Dragon Age, and I shot it with no money, and it broke me. Because
I
producing something like that is much different than starring in it because you're not, you know, everything's not riding on you.
sure.
That's kind of why I went more into non-scripted stuff and stepped behind the camera because that experience broke me so bad.
Mhm.
So Red Werewolf Hunter was more of a high for me.
It was more, well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I just watched it again because I remember when it came out, I watched it and I just watched it again, The Dragon Age, and there was a lot of work put into it. So I could understand.
But we
I
did it
was
for like a quarter of the budget of Red, and I feel like we did amazing work just because everybody did me favors. But again, it was horrible. Horribly hard. It was arrogance, sheer arrogance that thought I could pull it off. But you know, I think we pulled it off on the screen for the most part. It wasn't what exactly I think the script could have been, but given the resources we had, we did an amazing job. But it did indeed break me, and I was like, I'll just go do a YouTube channel now, which was probably not the best idea either. But hey, it's
Hey,
fine.
you got to try different things. As you
Exactly.
mentioned, that stayed in one lane. I think you always have to evolve and grow and try different things because otherwise you're not going to know.
Yeah, exactly. And now I have a question for you
Sure.
rewatching this. So,
Mhm.
and I want to know, did you notice when I was fighting the werewolves,
Mhm.
was I looking at the right height of a werewolf at any point during the in the movie?
For the
Right?
most part, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm guessing. I was going to ask if you had any reference points because a few times it looks like maybe you were looking off from the werewolf, but most part it
Yeah.
looks good. I think it was
So I was told they never had a picture of a werewolf. I
really
was like, can I see what I'm looking at? Because there was
sure.
nobody there. And they were like, no, they're about like your height.
Yeah.
Then I see the movie and they're like nothing, they're nowhere near there. And I was like, well, I'm looking in the wrong place. I think they probably but I just want to defend myself in that as an actor, I'm going to look where they tell me to look.
Sure.
But
Sure.
in post, they must have reconceived what the werewolves were. So if I'm looking at a completely wrong area or height, that is not my fault. I just want to tell you that.
Uh, I think they cut away quickly enough so it's you can't
There was a
quite tell
reason they
from this
had
as same.
to.
Yeah. But yeah, indie films are still fun to watch. I love to see it's not always what they don't do, it's what they do come up with. And I loved the story with Red, and I'm looking at this going, I could see this being like a short series with
Yeah,
Red.
they actually did talk about it a little
Mhm.
bit, and I think they tried. I'm not sure, but again, this was the point where Sci-Fi Channel was kind of turning cheesy.
Yeah.
And actually, at the end of this, I was on Eureka at the time.
Hmm.
This, I think. Um, and then that was when they kind of just decided to kind of cut all the stuff they were trying to be legitimate entertainment. And then they
Sure.
were just like, let's make trash. Let's just do it.
That's when they dropped the I's and added the Y's, I think is what.
Exactly. Yeah, there was a big rebrand going on, and I think they didn't. I don't know, man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
too because you're right. It could have made a good series. Like at the end, I could have gone off and bought a lot of more bad guys. But it was a pretty hard. Um, yeah, it was such a hard shoot
Mhm.
because it was shot in Hamilton, Ontario, which is kind of not the best place. I mean, not the most exciting place.
Sure.
Um, but at the same time, um, we would start mornings, right?
Hmm.
So it was like a 2.5 week shoot, I think, 14-day shoot. So we'd start with a 5 a.m. pickup, right?
Hmm.
But then toward the end of the week, we go into nights, right? So like we're pushing our bedtime 3 hours every day. So by the
Sure.
time Friday comes up, you get picked up at 5 a.m. on Monday and you get picked up at 4 p.m. on Friday. And so you shoot all night and you wake up at 2 in the afternoon on Saturday. You're like, where am I? My body was so messed up. I could not tell I've never been to the point where I was like, I don't know what day and night is anymore. But
Hmm.
you're on like a 30-hour schedule. So it was kind of wild.
That is wild. And I think some people don't realize that when they're watching a movie. Oh, night shoot, day shoots. You're like, yeah, they probably did those back to back almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eh,
No, and then I mean the whole production, like kudos to the producer, Angela, and
mhm.
all the other people, of course, because it was so hard to it was so tough, like the low
Mhm.
budget filmmaking. They were prepping and shooting like all in a row, right? With the same crew. I actually got offered a Christmas movie by two of the Canadian producers, and
Sure.
I right after doing this, and I am so mad at myself. I turned it down. I think Amy Acker ended up playing the lead in it,
Mhm.
and I'm so mad that I turned it down because I've always wanted to do a Christmas movie since that. But it was such a hard shoot. I was like, I can't.
Sure.
It literally shot like 3 weeks after this one, and I was just like, I can't go back up and be
Mhm.
away from because I was still doing the guild, and I was like, I can't
Right.
leave my producing to go do this little movie. But I have to tell you, it's one of my biggest regrets because I've still never done a Christmas movie, and it's like my dream.
To be in a
Yeah,
like one of the Hallmark Christmas movies or just
any
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 Christmas movie.
Hallmark is fine. I'll take it. I want any Christmas movie. It was a really sweet movie too, and I
Mhm.
read the script. I was like, I can't go away for another month, and I
Yeah.
really read it. It was just too hard to shoot, but at the same time, yeah. What do you do, man?
You do what you can, right? You
Yeah,
got to balance your life versus work as well, because you don't want
yeah.
to be,
You
you hear too
don't
many
want to
stories of
be
people burning out too quickly.
true. Now I'm away from my kid right now, and it's really, really tough. So, you know.
I saw your video about that, and it is so true. My wife and I, when our kids were old enough to leave by themselves home alone when they were little,
Mhm.
we went out to dinner. We're like, oh, this is great. No kids. We're just sitting down for dinner, and we talked about our kids almost the whole time.
I know. And then you miss them. You're like, oh, what would I order for them here? Yeah, it's I mean, that means you're a good parent, right? Like if
I
you're actually like, get me away from this kid, I'm like, well, why'd you have a kid?
yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't help it, but yeah, you're looking
Yeah.
on the menu going, oh, they would have liked this if they were here. And they're like, oh
And
yeah,
believe me, we all have those moments where we're like, I need you to get
oh
away
yeah.
from, like, I get it. Like you're not a bad parent if you don't, you need a evening away. I didn't mean to imply that, but I will say that yeah, you need to enjoy them. Like you had them, enjoy them. And it means like really bending and becoming a different person and letting go a lot of the things you like. But like, hey, if you're not evolving into something new, then you're just stagnating, right? That's my rationale for not having a personal life.
Hey, you keep going, because then if you stop, you're like, oh man, what did I do? You start
Yeah.
thinking too much about all the stuff you've done, then you get exhausted, and you're just like, do I really
Yeah.
want to keep doing this? But if you keep moving, you don't have to think about it that way.
I hear you, man.
And I have to mention this. She may hear me through the floor, but my wife calls you her imaginary arch nemesis in a good way, only because you're in everything she really enjoys. And so
Oh, that's great.
she loves seeing you, because she loved Eureka, New Supernatural, Buffy, and then she was watching The Rookie, and she's like, she's here again. She's
Yeah. I haven't done as much acting less, since COVID. So I'm
yeah.
getting a little bit back into it, but
Mhm.
it's hard, like I'm on location for a couple weeks doing this small project and like I miss my kid and I can't bring
Yeah.
her, I can't work with her. So it's hard. I have to be a little bit more choosy. But yeah, I miss it and I really enjoy it. And I enjoy that your wife likes it makes
She
me want to go out and work a little bit more. Okay. I'll promise to pop up in something weird again for her.
I will let her know. I will let her know. She says, yeah, but they always seem to kill her character off too soon.
Let me just tell you, that has been like I've been trying to reflect like why did no one ever like keep me around? So I'm trying to grapple with that and I might
Mhm.
make it like a requirement like you can't kill me. I'm
I get at
tired.
least 3 episodes before I die by
I'm
the hands of a
yeah,
creature.
I'm really
Yeah.
tired. I'm tired of being killed. It's not a compliment, okay? It means you were using me, okay? Stop it.
Well,
Sometimes not.
yeah,
Sometimes not. Sometimes those showrunners are always they're always trying to up the stakes, right? And they're not
sure,
going to take
sure.
somebody off that the audience doesn't care about. They want to
Mhm.
make the audience feel, but I'm like, I don't want to lose my job because you need to make your audience feel something. I'm tired of this.
Well, especially because the majority of the characters you play are all just really like wonderful characters that you don't want to see die,
Well,
and
thank
then
you.
they die, and then you're just like, well, okay, I'm turning this off.
Well, I didn't die in red, and it
No,
could have
you
continued
didn't.
on. So you never know. You
That's
never
right. I was
know.
going to say you didn't die in this. You got to kill some werewolves, CGI werewolves, but hey,
Yeah.
you got to look really cool doing it as well. Which I gotta say is, through all your projects and that, I've always loved the costuming that you get for like your roles, and for what you did in the guild in that. Did you do any of those yourself, like when you were doing the guild in that,
When
or?
I did this, I mean, when I did the guild, that was all my clothes
Mhm.
and all my house that we shot in for
Sure.
6 years. I would never do that again. I kind of think, oh, it'd be nice to do another web series. Like, no, I'm never again because I can't pay people $100 a day anymore. I can't have people in my house. Um, but yeah, that was all my own clothing.
Mm,
But I really liked the vibe of Red was really cool.
mhm.
Like in retrospect, um, yeah, I feel like it would have been a cool series because she was kind of a badass. Like she was very supernaturally almost, where she could have gone around and killed werewolves for the rest of her life.
That's what I was looking at. I mean, with her family, and you have that dynamic, and
Yeah.
there's even some heart in here involving your partner. I
Yeah.
with that character, and that surprised me. I'm actually watching this going, oh, I actually kind of feel, you may,
Yeah, that was
you
like the main thrust of the like that's
mhm.
why I wanted to do the movie is that, there's that relationship between them and you kind of have to spoiler alert, it doesn't end well for the
No,
relationship. But at the same time, that sort of, it felt very it was really good conflict,
mhm.
again, the script was great. I think the script frankly is better than what ends up
What
on the
came?
screen. But that's no fault to anybody,
Sure,
not the
sure.
director, except for maybe the improv. Like, what are we doing here?
Well,
But again, had we had a little bit more time to work
mhm.
out, the issues that he had with it, it's just and he's an amazing person in that he does a lot of the visual effects himself too. I
Oh,
think,
really?
yeah,
Okay.
I think he was. I think that's where his background was
Mhm,
from my vague recollection,
mhm.
and so I'm sure now he's still doing that multi hyphen thing, which is really awesome, because you really know what you want. But yeah, it was that relationship was really. It's not about the kicking and stuff because people don't care. I mean, yeah, the action's fun, but unless there's at least a through line of
Mhm.
emotion and relationships and characters you care about, there's no point to any of it, right? And it had that sort of like very like not Buffy because it was not comedic, it was a lot more
Right.
dramatic, but it had a sort of an edgy darkness
Mhm.
that I think was actually pretty cool for the time.
And that would have been a great jumping point, as we mentioned, if it was a series for Red to kind of go on a revenge trip of, oh, that's it. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna go find every clan of werewolves and just
werewolves are
not.
just gonna kick some butt. Listen, sign me up, I'll watch that or be in it.
Well, you kick a lot of butt in real life, and I appreciate your time quite a bit today for doing this, Felicia. It's been a pleasure. I know you got time constraints, so
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and thank you for again, like I don't answer every interview request. I'm pretty picky, but when you said you were covering red, I was like, oh, I got to come on and represent, right?
well, and I'm glad you did it, giving some background behind it as well. My co-host and I were a little bit at odds with the film, so he didn't
That's fine. No
he didn't
offense, man.
he didn't quite care for it as much as I did. But we both had a fun conversation, and this was a wonderful conversation for sure. Uh, what can you share that you've got coming up next?
Well, I have a pretty huge project coming up.
Mhm.
I can't really tell you anything about it, but it'll be
Okay.
announced, I think, pretty soon at the end of the
Mhm.
month, and then we'll be having a preview panel at Comic-Con for it. So please
Ooh,
just check my and if you guys can support it because I've been working on it for years and years and it's my baby. It's like more of my baby than the guild. So
oh
please
wow.
just follow my socials. Felicia Day pretty much everywhere. And
Mhm.
yeah, please, because it'll be out later this year, but it's gonna be announced this month. So very exciting.
That is very exciting, and yeah, this is very excited, folks. Check out Red. It's out on digital. It's out on streaming and such, and
You can
check it
make
out
fun of
if
it. It's fine. No offense, man. Make fun of anything, my face, but look out for the pantyhose walking and the werewolf being the wrong height.
pantyhose walking. I'm gonna remember that now. I'm gonna
All
probably
right.
if I watch it again, I'm not gonna be able to. I'm like, oh,
You'd be like, wow, she really can't walk in those.
she
She's really
can't
way
walk.
too layered.
Well, thank you, and everyone, folks. Make sure if you haven't been following her already, make sure you do.